And good afternoon, everyone. Hello, and good almost evening again. And welcome. Who are you? Where did this guy show up from?
I broke in to play the organ.
I saw him out on the street the other day. We'll play for food. No.
That's right.
Anyway, we're going to have a little fun today, and we'll talk about. Last week, I talked about a lot of the organ sounds and how to get some of the bank organ sounds and creating your own and what have you. And then I did a little snippet of Virtuoso, and I said, you know what, that's what I'll talk about this week. It might be a 20-minute class, it may be a 40-minute class. We'll see. I always say it's not going to be a long class, and then I look up and it's an hour later. But we're going to start off today with a little fun here. I have behind me a gentleman, or young gentleman. He sounds like he's 40 years old and very experienced, but he's actually you're not even 20 yet, are you?
19.
19. His name is Daniel Wireman, and he just started with us
2 months ago today, I believe.
2 months ago today. And he just got done out of our Conductor Magic Level 1 class, so we're going to see how well he can do this today. Actually, I'm just kidding. He's had some music background, piano. Did you play another instrument, you told me?
I've played pretty much every instrument I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
I taught piano. Piano is my best, though.
He picked up a saxophone recently, and he showed me a video that he was just learning, and I'm like, he just learned it, and he was playing notes. Anyway, but we're going to have a little fun today, because what Daniel's going to do is he's going to play a song. We're going to open up with a song. He's going to use a feature that we'll discuss today in action, and I'll kind of tell you some of the things he did, but he's going to do something a little bit different, because the song he's going to play, most people usually play it with a standard traditional style, like something soft and easy, a ballad, slow, pretty, and he decided he's going to jazz it up a little bit. So pay attention. If you want to add something before you play, you feel free to do that. So I'm going to turn it over. Hold on. I'm going to turn it over to Daniel, and I got to make this official here. So we'll give a big round of applause to Daniel Wireman, everybody.
Don't applaud yet.
Okay.
I'm going to be doing a lot of improvisation also, so if it sounds terrible, that's why. Don't boo too hard.
They're not allowed to boot, otherwise they kick them off. And a big round of applause. Thank you. I'm in the background giving him a cue. Applaud. Thank you very much, Daniel, and for that wonderful little opening introduction. He's going to go help a student now. So it was a bluesy. Oh, I got to change my camera, otherwise it's going to be cut off the whole time. That was kind of a bluesy "Love Me Tender," and you had. I'm going to have you hold the camera here and tell him. He didn't just play one rhythm style. You used a few, didn't you?
That's right. I started with Dixieland with a honky-tonk piano on the top. Then I went to Chicago swing, and I finished it off with 50s swing rock. So it might have been a little jarring switching between them, but hope it sounded all right.
It was great. Thank you so much. I don't know if those body motions really represented those styles or not, but and he was using the Virtuoso. Did you catch that? Okay. Now, what he also did, and the other day I told him, why don't you open up with a little song? And then he went and he was changing different sounds, and then he learned how to save presets. And then I said, you better, knowing me, you better save them onto a USB stick. So he put them on a USB stick. So a few weeks ago, we did a couple classes on loading and saving presets. So again, it's one of those, go back and watch it if you need some other assistance with it. If you have a personal assistant you need to talk to, let me know. I can help you. We can all help you individually. The process of saving and changing USB presets and saving presets is similar in all of the models that are represented in today's class. Now let's talk I'm going to start off with a little bit of the Virtuoso now, and I know some people may not have the Virtuoso, so I'm going to do two parts today. I'm going to start off with the Virtuoso and then teach a topic that apply to every one of the models, okay? So what Daniel did is he activated the Virtuoso, and I actually taught him how to change the sounds in there and where those sounds come from. So what I'm going to do as I go through this from time to time, I'm going to change my camera to the TV because I think the TV will be a lot easier to see. All right. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. So, all right. Hopefully that is visible enough. You don't need to see my head. So what he did is the Virtuoso. If you look in the Virtuoso, when you activate your Virtuoso, you have the option of taking the sound from 3 different places. Now, if you have an EX series model, the EX series has 2 Virtuosos. They call it the Grand Virtuoso and the left and right. So everything I'm going to show you basically works the same way on one side or the other, okay? Now, this first part I want to go over because this one tends to confuse some individuals from time to time, okay? But before I get into the detail of this, you have 3 places. All the word source means is the sound, the Virtuoso, which your little keyboard here, which is this little keyboard right here, okay? The sound that's going there depends on how you have this set, okay? And source means, all that means is where is it pulling the sound from, okay? Now let me go through them, and the second 2 options are kind of just common sense. And you select it by pressing it on the screen, and if it's highlighted in blue, then you can scroll through. So whatever sound is programmed in the golden harp section, and we'll come back to that, whatever's programmed in the golden harp is what will go into the Virtuoso. Now, we're going to refer to the golden harp in a minute, and that's going to apply to every model. So if you don't have a Virtuoso, don't go anywhere because it's going to pertain to your model. If you don't have the Virtuoso, this part may not, but we'll get to the golden harp in a second. So the other way to get a sound into the Virtuoso is whatever sound is programmed in the upper keyboard. So if I change that to say upper, I don't know if that makes it better or not. I think it did. Okay. Okay, so whatever sound you have programmed in the upper keyboard at that time. Okay, in this case, let me just go back to whatever settings he has in here. Let me just see here. Okay, so this particular setup, whatever he had on, he had a clarinet on the bottom, and up here, it had a brass section, okay? And on the screen, it says upper, okay? So essentially, the sound that's programmed in the upper keyboard, which is the brass in this case, that sound is going to go into the Virtuoso, okay? So let me demonstrate, but there's something else that's pretty cool with this. So if I just come in here, that sound that's in the upper keyboard happens to be the brass, and we have upper selected, so therefore, that's the sound that's programmed into the Virtuoso. Okay? However, I also noticed when he was playing, he had a harmony selected. And in this case, it was a block harmony. So just listen to a few measures as I play what he played. Okay? So that harmony was playing. So while you're playing, if you have a harmony on, okay, not only will the sound of whatever is here, in this case a brass section, will go into the Virtuoso, but the harmony will also go into that Virtuoso. So whatever is programmed in this keyboard is going to go in there. In this case, I happen to have a harmony on. Okay? Just a couple people there. So listen. Okay, you hear that? Now if I don't, if I'm not playing, and I don't, even though you have a harmony on, right now, standalone, you're hearing individual notes. But the minute I start playing, so it also throws in the harmony, which is pretty cool. And the harmony, depending on harmony, if you have a 2-part, duet, if you have a 3-part, 4-part, any of those is going to go up in that keyboard. Okay, in the Virtuoso rather. And last but not least, oops, let me get my screen back on here. You also have the option of pulling the source for whatever's in the lower right keyboard, and the same thing applies. If you happen to have a harmony there, it'll go up in there. If you don't, in this case, this preset, he has a clarinet kind of like a solo, so that will go up in the... Okay? We have a theory that when the Virtuoso was introduced, okay, I'm sorry, let me back up. We have a theory that when the Fake It button was introduced, you remember when the Fake It came out, it was on the Lowrey Sterling back in 2011. And that was like, wow, okay? We had a theory that the Fake It was a result of the Virtuoso. Okay, and let me explain why, and then we'll go back to that golden harp. I didn't forget about that. Okay, so let me go up to the do this so my head's not cut off. So in this case, this rhythm, he's got a 50 swing rock. He's got a clarinet here and a brass. Okay, but now I have it set so this sound here is going to go up in the virtuoso. Okay? If I can play the song right. All right. So I'm going to play along, but now I have the source is from this keyboard, which happens to be a clarinet. But here's what it does. When you notice on the screen there, I currently have it set to the lower right keyboard, and there's a pattern called normal, and we'll go back to that in a moment, okay? So what happens is the clarinet's now in the virtuoso, all right? And the question I have from several people was, what notes is it playing? It's basically taking whatever chord you're playing here, whether it's one finger or three finger, it doesn't matter. It's the same. And it basically plays those notes in what's called a normal pattern. Now watch. Almost like an arpeggio. So I have a C chord, so it's playing those notes, C, E, G. And I'm playing just a plain old C chord. Now if I play a C7 chord, let's listen to those notes. See how the notes are different? You can kind of tell. Listen closely. Here's a C7th. It's playing the notes of a C7th chord. Now I'm going to go back to regular C chord. Now watch. It's just going C, G, C, G, C, G. So here's where the theory of this sparked the idea of creating an organ that had a fake it button. Because where you're playing, I'll play the song one time through. All right, and now I want to do a little fake it. So you could technically use it as a fake it feature as well, manually, okay? And a lot of people will ask me, how do you know what chords to play when you're doing that? If you're playing a song and you play it one time through, two times through, whatever, take whatever song you're using and just go back and play the same chords again. And then what most people do with this virtuoso is they think it's just meant to run up your finger like an arpeggio, which you can. You know, that sounds great when you have the harp program. Okay, something like so. I mean, that's great for those instances. But in this instance here, where I have the clarinet, and I'm kind of doing something a little on the bluesy side, I'm not going to just run my finger up and down the virtuoso. So the secret is take the song, whatever song you're playing, go back and play the chords, don't play the melody, and just randomly tap out the notes. Here's an example. I have here, this has been up here from the last class I taught, Summertime. So I'll use this rhythm right now to play Summertime. Now I'm going to go back and play the same chord progression with the virtuoso up here and then just randomly play the notes, but I'm playing the chords. So you could have some fun with that. All right. Now, let me go back to this so you guys understand this, where the source says golden harp. Okay? The common perception is that when it's set to harp, golden harp, that the sound that will go into the virtuoso will be which sound? Any guesses? Feel free to unmute yourself. This is the one time you can do that.
Whatever you picked on the golden harp sound.
You're on the right track. But most people, sometimes they see the word golden harp and they think the sound that's going to be in the virtuoso is going to be a golden harp sound, okay? And that's not necessarily the case. This is saying this is going to pull the sound for what's programmed in the golden harp section. Now, as you all know, in your golden harp section, you have either a button that says Genius, or I think it's called Golden Harp Sound on the EX. Anyone near their Marquee or Aria, gray Marquee? To the left. Let's take a look. I got a manual here, actually. Here is a Aria owner's manual, and I'm going to do a search. Golden harp. Let's see if I get what I want. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of options for golden harp. Okay, here we go. So on the EX, I want to say EY as well, you'll see it says golden harp, and then you'll see there it says sounds, okay? On the A technology, it says Genius. And all that means, now, right now, the Genius or the sound button is off. So the sound that you're going to hear in the golden harp is the sound of an actual golden harp. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is press Genius, and let's see what screen it pops up here, or sound for the EX. Okay? And here's what showed up. Theremin. He threw in a theremin. He was having some fun a little early. Okay? So right now that I press the golden harp Genius or sound, it's the theremin is programmed in there. Okay? So if I play my virtuoso, which I'm going to do right now, you're not going to hear a golden harp now. You're going to hear a theremin. Okay? So essentially, the golden harp Genius is selected, and it happens to be a theremin in that case. So that's the sound that you're going to actually hear in the golden harp. Does that make sense? Okay? Now, let's go to the organ for a minute here. And I'll point this out and do it as I go. So I have, in this case, the golden harp Genius has the theremin. On the left side, on the EX series, you have it over here to the left, the golden harp and the sound, okay? So if I turn this on, you're not going to hear a theremin doing its golden harp because I don't actually have the pattern selected. Okay? So many of you have golden harp 1, 2, 3. Some of you have 1, 2, 3 and a virtuoso. Some of you have all these wonderful patterns. So just because I have it selected in the Genius or the sound does not mean that you're going to hear that sound going on while I'm playing the rhythm. Now watch. That's just the rhythm playing. So as I'm playing, now you can kind of, now the theremin is not as strong of a sound like a vibes or harp or the trumpets, but it's in there. Now, so if I have it playing, it's harder to hear because it's a softer sound, but you could see that that's the sound that's in there now, okay? Now, if I actually turn on Golden Harp 1, 2, 3, Virtuoso, up and down, whatever your patterns are, okay? If you actually turn on that pattern, so many of you have, you know, the first 2 or 3, and some of you have all of those patterns. Once that's selected, you're also going to hear the theremin going on. Well, it might be hard to hear, but let's see. Let me change the pattern. You hear it? Different patterns. Okay? Because that's the sound that's programmed in the Golden Harp, and I actually activated one of the patterns. So all that means is when I do that is while you're playing, that pattern will go. Okay? So my point in this part is just because you have a sound programmed in the Golden Harp, whether you're using the actual Golden Harp or a sound or genius, in this case the theremin's programmed in the Golden Harp, and you put it into the Virtuoso, it doesn't mean you're going to also hear that going up and down in arpeggio like the Golden Harp does. That's a separate function that turns it on, which we're going to get into in just a minute, okay? So, before I go any further, are there any questions about the source that I talked about? Is there any in the chat?
Hey, Robert, I have a question.
Yes.
When you did the Summertime, I think you were using the clarinet, you were using the Virtuoso to hit the random notes. Is that similar as if you would have used the Fake It instead?
It is very much like using the Fake It. And that's why we think Fake It was inspired by the Virtuoso, because Virtuoso came out before the Fake It. It originally came out on an organ called the Lowrey Palladium, and then the Prestige, and I can't remember after that. And then when the Sterling was introduced, they introduced the Fake It feature, because what we were telling people is you can use this Virtuoso. You can run your finger up and down the little keyboard and get these beautiful arpeggios when you're playing. I like doing that sometimes when it's something slow and you want to end with a finale or something in between and do a nice little arpeggio. But then we started teaching people you can use this to improvise, because as long as you're playing the chord, correct chord, and you kind of bounce around on the notes, well, then you can technically use it as a Fake It. Now, having said that, and I'm going to come back to the Golden Harp as a separate topic for everyone. Having said that, you're going to notice that there's an option here called pattern. Okay? Normal pattern is like if I had a C chord and I just ran my finger up, you might see you might hear rather C, E, G, C, E, G. If you have a C7, it might do C, E, G, B flat, C. Okay? So here's a C chord. Now watch. Here's a C7. Here are the notes. And then, of course, if you're playing the notes differently, then you could do... You can bounce around kind of like a Fake It. But, watch this. You also have these patterns. So if I touch pattern, normal, If you go up one, you'll see one says skip, and all that means is the notes skip if you run it across the keyboard up and down, okay? So let's see if I can do this. Keep it just like that, okay? Same thing, I'm going to put it on the C7, C chord. Okay, now watch. So the notes are skipping and they're playing in a different pattern. And if you do that with a golden harp sound, an actual harp sound, so if you're playing something like, you know, like this. Oops, take two. Now watch, here we go. See there, I'm using it as an arpeggio, but the notes are skipping differently, so it gives it a different effect. Okay? Let me back up. Stuart, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Now back to his setup here. Now, you'll also notice, some of you may have, I don't know which models, so forgive me. It's been a while since I've done this part, but at some point, Lowrey made it to where you can actually, Stuart, you can put the fake it into the Virtuoso. So technically, if you're doing the same thing, let me bring in that clarinet. And the notes are going to play differently than the way I did it earlier. Okay, so it works more like the fake it there. Now, so the question that should be you're thinking is, what's the difference? Okay, here's the difference. If I don't have it, let me go back up here. Right now I have the lower right, which in this case is a clarinet, and I have the pattern. If I have the pattern set to normal or even skip, how the Virtuoso works, okay? I'm going to back up a little bit so I can try to get both in here so I don't have to keep doing this. Okay, well, you can see the pattern and you can see the organ. All right. So right now this says normal. So what's going to happen, normal or skip, if you're using the Virtuoso, the notes will play correct notes based on the chord you're playing. Okay? So if you're playing a C chord, it's going to play the notes from a C chord. C7, it plays the, if you play an F, if you play a diminished, whatever chord you're playing, it's going to put the notes in there. However, the notes, if you play it down here, the notes are going to be lower. Okay? If you play it up here, the notes are going to be higher. But they're just going to play the notes appropriately based on the chord. So listen. Okay? Now I'm going to go to skip. Same thing, but the notes are played a little differently, but low and high. Okay? Now, let me put on fake it. Now watch. It doesn't go from low to high. Fake it works just like it's supposed to. Play random notes based on the notes. So you can almost do something like this. Play a chord and then... So the notes aren't going low to high. It's playing the random notes like the fake it should do. And you don't have to even tap it out like you would on Fake It. You could actually just take your finger and rub it. You can rub it back and forth, move it back and forth on the keyboard. I don't know if you could see that from there. Well, watch. Now here's what I'll do. I'm going to keep the Fake It and the Virtuoso. I'm going to keep my sound here. I'm going to play. Actually, I'll do. I'll do something different. Here we go. This is programmed with the Fake It. Now if you can see it with my hands there, I'm just going to wiggle it back and forth on the keyboard. I'm not going to wiggle, I'm sorry, I'm just going to slide my finger on the Virtuoso. Could you see that? Am I too far away? Did you catch that? Okay, so it's another way of using the Fake It. The beauty of that is when you turn on Fake It, a lot of the organs automatically activate both keyboards to the Fake It, so you can't play a melody. You either have to do Fake It or turn it off and do a melody. Now, some of the organs, Grand Marquee and Aria, you can assign a Fake It to one keyboard or the other. Well, the beauty of it doing it this way is, if you're playing, and in this case I have the brass section and a clarinet. I want to play the melody with both keyboards. I don't want to sacrifice one keyboard at all in this example. So while I'm playing, I can reach up and put whatever I want in that Virtuoso, lower right, upper, or whatever sound, and put it to the sound that I want, so I can still play my melody. Play through one time through. I have my Fake It already ready to go. Anyway, so you have all these little options, and there is no right option. It depends on how you, in this case, I wanted to play the song. I wanted to have the melody in the upper and the lower right, and then I wanted to Fake It when I wanted to sneak it in there. Or maybe you just want to be it as a regular Virtuoso with a pattern. That's fine, and you just want to rub your finger in there. Remember, it's going to go from low to high when you're doing that. Okay? Fake It may not always do that. It's always going to change based on the rhythm style you have. Okay? And then as a reminder, when you're doing the golden harp source, it's not always necessarily meaning that you're going to have a golden harp sound. It's whatever sound is programmed in the golden harp section at that time. It could be just a harp, or you have your Genius or your sound on. Then what happens is whatever's programmed in there. In this case, I had a theremin. You know, you could put a vibraphone in. This is great if you want, in your Virtuoso, if you want to, say, a trumpet in there or a saxophone. Now here's an example. I'm going to leave the screen up there. I'm going to pull up the Golden Harp Genius, and you'll see that there's their theremin, okay? And what I'm going to do is select theremin, and I'm going to change the sound to something else. And how about, where am I trying? You know what? I'm going to go to the trumpets, and I want to put trumpet. Let's see. Oh, how about that? Trumpet Louis Shake. Okay? So that's the sound that's programmed in the golden harp section. I'm not going to have my golden harp pattern on. I don't want trumpets going up and down while I'm playing. So that's off. But that's the sound that's programmed. And in the Virtuoso, I'm going to say it's coming from the golden harp. Okay? Now, I don't know if this will sound good or not. We don't know. Best way to do it is try it and see. And it's on the fake it mode. So let me turn it off and put it on a normal mode and see what happens. So it's on the standard normal pattern. So the lower I went, the lower that trumpet played, and the higher I went, the higher the trumpet I played. Okay? So I wanted to kind of tie in the golden harp a little bit because you're learning two things at the same time at once here. Because the golden harp is a separate feature altogether, but how you have that set determines what sound comes out of the golden harp. Okay? Any questions? So based on the looks I see, that's either a good thing or you're confused. Hopefully I explained it well. Okay? So you have a lot of fun with that. I want to close off with a number when we're done here, and I'm going to show you what I'm using for the Virtuoso. I've done this from time to time on some of the songs I've played, and it's pretty cool. And then I'll tell you what sound I used. Okay? So here's what I'm going to do. No questions? Now's a good time to ask. Let me see. Any questions in the chat? Oh, where am I? Chat. Oh, you ever push the wrong button? Okay. No. All right. Okay, very good. So what I'm going to do is set up a rhythm here that I like to play, and then I'll change the camera angle, and I'll show you on the screen. Let's see, which way do I do this? I'll put it on the screen. Oh, before I forget, if some of you, I know many of you have purchased this. It's a great package. But if you wanted to, I had a lot of inquiries. People were waiting, so I decided to change the promotional date. Let me just pull it up here. Safari. Get this. Get to the right page here. Okay. So if you're still interested in this package, what I did, let's see if they changed it on the website for me. I told them to change it. Yeah, so this flyer will change here in any bit, but this offer is going to be up through July Sunday, whatever date that is, July 4, 5, 6, 7. So on Monday to July 8th, this offer will go away. But it's basically 37 wonderful tunes of the Lowrey organ. This is actually incorrect. This is 37 custom presets, each with 11. So this actually 11. The updated flyer will say 11. So there's like over 400 individual setups. And in the songbook, it actually has the songs in it. It has the page numbers, and so you can either listen to the song if you just don't feel like playing them, or you can load the presets And what's really cool is the first 5 songs you load at one time. So if you want to play 1 through 5, bank A, B, C, D, E, each one is loaded, and then it gives you the title when you do that, and then so forth. So if you get it, if you have some questions, reach out to me, call me, text me, email me, send me a smoke signal, whatever you need to do, and I can answer that for you. Annette at the office has been working really hard. We've had a lot of orders, and so she's putting together she prints out every book, she gets the USB made, and then she goes and she checks out every single USB and plays a bunch of them. So she takes a lot of time to make sure it's working before it gets sent out. But I'm going to have that offer up through Sunday, so if you haven't gotten it yet and it's something you like, just go to the internet there, or our website, on the virtual classes and events tab, and then you'll notice that there is an option there, right there, for the US purchase, and then the Canada and UK, you just click on that one, and then it'll guide you through. It's a secure payment option. Make sure to put the model that you own, make sure to put the mailing address where it has to go to, and then that way Annette will know what to do at that time. All right, so I'm going to put this up here before I play it so you can see what I'm doing. So here's something that I do at the Virtuoso, and one of the songs that I do commonly. So what I like to play is, one of the styles that I love is jump-in jazz. It's a fun style. All right, and most people put on your rhythm preset or style setup, and it's nice. You can get a brass section on the top and nice sax section at the bottom. But here's what I like to do. So I set it up, I'll put on my rhythm preset just so it gives me a nice good balance. Then what I'll do is go to my category presets, and I go to the more category, and there's one called jazz. All right. And on jazz 0, and I'm going to put up the presets. So I have jazz selected. I'm going to put up the presets so you can see this. You'll see on jazz 0, it says brass, shake, / growl. Growl represents what they call a growl saxophone. And it's kind of that saxophone that was very popular back in the 50s, where it wasn't your traditional smooth tenor alto. It had a growl effect the way they played it, okay? And so the brass shake is going to be a brass section with a trumpet, and it has that automatic trumpet shake built into that with a harmony. And then on the lower right keyboard, it has the growl saxophone. And what I'm going to do, now that I have that preset selected, now I'm going to go to my Virtuoso, okay? I'm going to leave the pattern as normal. I'm not going to do any fake it with that, or the step pattern. And the golden harp, I'm going to select, and then I'm going to put it to upper. So now that brass trumpet shake harmony sound that's on the upper keyboard is now in the Virtuoso. So let me change the view here. Okay. And I'll play this standing up today, folks. So listen, here's the brass section. Is here. And because I have the normal pattern, it's going to go from low to high. Okay? Now, there's no harmony there now because I'm not playing, I'm not striking the chord. As soon as I strike a chord, the harmony goes in there as well. So the harmony that's selected is a 5-part. All right, so we'll have a little fun with this number here. And I'll sort of say what I'm doing as I go. Hopefully you can hear me talking over the music. Here we go. So that's just the way it comes up. Now I'm going to put on the altar style. Let that play a little bit. Here, a little C chord, F7, back to C, G, a little blues progression, F7, C. Same thing, but I'll do a little more of the virtuoso as I go. Here's another thing. If you hold down the virtuoso and you make chord changes as you go, it'll change. Well, I had fun doing that. I don't know why, but maybe you do the same, but every time I have that shake, trumpet shake, or the trumpet shake sound with a harmony, I always want to move my finger. You don't have to. It doesn't make it shake any different. So, well, we hope you enjoyed that class. One little topic. I lied. I said I was going to go about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. No, it was 40 minutes. So there's a lot to that one little feature. And then I crossed over a little bit with a touch of little taste of the golden harp. Next week, we're going to have a product features class. I may or may not be the one doing the class. Ooh. Who will be the surprise guest PA to do it? Stay tuned. We're on the lookout for the weekly virtual classes and events coming up, email. And we have a lot of fun things in store for you this month, whether you're locally at one of our stores or you're visiting us online. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, everyone. Hey, Judy. All right. And hope to see you again real soon. I may do it again next week. We'll see. Either way, it's going to be a good class. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Keep playing music, and mwah.